Surprise, surprise. Yesterday's video will not be my last video for 2025. This video will sort of be a part 2 of yesterday's video where I sort of gave out my brief thoughts on the merch, and that was filmed right after everyone else was announced. And that's why this video will be about giving out my full thoughts on the new merch for possibly next year's Tomas series, now that we have both ranges announced. And oh boy do I have mixed feelings on this merch. While I don't think it's terrible or the worst thing ever, also don't think it's the best either. And it gives me the impression of what this year's show might look like, whether it's a good or bad thing. So first, we'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And actually end with how I would fix them. And end with my predictions for the 2026 TV series. Also, fair warning, I will swear in this video. That's just the way I talk whenever I do these kinds of videos, and I just think the energy present in swearing helps drive points better. So if you're a child watching this, you probably shouldn't be. If you're a parent that is sitting near your child watching this, then turn it off. This review will strictly be for man-child Tomas fans, like me, who mainly care about voicing our opinions on certain shows or toys and sometimes make assumptions for the worst, even if not too much nowadays due to me growing as a softie since 2019. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we address the elephants in the room, let's first talk about the positives about this merch, aka possibly the 2026 series. We got 5 motorized and die-cast engines. There are rumors swarming around that Emily could make it to both ranges at the time of this recording, and there's no first look at the die-cast Tomas yet surprisingly, despite being the main character. First of all, the proportions of all the engines are already a major step up from last year. They actually look like actual real-life steam engines. The fact that the splashers are finally aligned with their wheels, the pony trucks for the driving wheels, the lamps. There is just so much detail put into the engines. I'm also glad that they will be sticking with the realistic-looking designs while also looking unique and fresh. Like the fact that the tender engines are a darker shade of their colors than the tank engines. Annie and Clarabelle are also the most unique they've ever looked, having the ornate patterns from all engines go, and the A standing for Annie, all around the coach, for better or for worse. And speaking of worse, let's now address the big elephants in the room. And this is where one of my infamous rants start. The first elephant in the room is the faces. The faces, by far, might just be the single worst thing to come out of this new show. Especially Gordon, James Ward and Old Slow Coach. Why do I say that, you may ask? Well, because their faces look absolutely fucking terrifying. Seriously, it's JJ the jet plane all over again. One of the main reasons why Tomas was so popular in the first place is because the faces weren't as creepy as we thought they would be. They may be creepy at first glance, especially the model series. But once you watch this show with quality storytelling and complex characters, you'll get used to it and you'll find them less creepy after a while, especially after watching another show with creepier faces. Here, the faces look much creepier, much more JJ the jet plane-esque, and it's really gonna give kids nightmares. If kids see this and or watch the new show, they will get freaked out so easily that won't watch this new series. I sure hope they tweak their faces to look less creepy. I'm not saying they should look exactly like the CGI series. This is a new show, a new iteration of Tomas, and they have to change their faces in some parts of the engines to keep things fresh, and completely reverting back to the style of CGI is boring. But my god, why do the faces look so unsettling? Gordon's 1976 pilot-looking face in particular makes me want to throw up. James's Edward and JJ Firetruck guy looking face literally makes me want to stick a fork in my eye. Old Slow Coach's face is one that triggers me most. Was it Mattel's demand that every character should have a gray face? First Boko, then Daisy, and then Harold in All Engines Go. And now Annie and Clarabelle in the 2026 show. The answer is obviously yes. I don't mind it on Boko and Daisy, and I did get used to gray face Harold after a while. But why do you have to give everyone a gray face? Not everyone has to have a gray face. Some characters can have their faces meshed into their bodywork, like Annie and Clarabelle, Harold, and Carolyn. They should not have faces based on their season 12 concept art. She looks more like Old Slow Coach, but with Annie and Clarabelle's skins. Nia's face also could have been a lot better. But then you have Henry, Thomas, and Percy just winning me over. In how much their faces don't actually look half bad. I quite like this clever little detail with Percy's dimple when he smiles like that, because of how well it ties into reality. Some of us tend to get those a dimple when we smile. But then you have other problems, like the fact that Thomas's face no longer has those pyramid-shaped eyebrows that made him so iconic. Another issue I take with all their faces is the fact that they just kept the all-engines go styled eyes. That being the colored irises. I really don't care for them at all. Now I don't mind changing the design of the characters, as long as they are faithful their designs. Just with a few differences to make them look more unique. Like Annie has the most unique design out of them all, in terms of their detailing being a mix between CGI and all engines. You can have Annie have this eye-catching design. You can have a cursive A standing for Annie while also having the ornate patterns from all engines go all around the coach. Hell, the tender engines can even have a darker shade of their colors than the tank engines like blue or green and etc. Redesigns aren't automatically a negative like with My Little Pony, or DuckTales, or Transformers Animated, as long as the stories for the shows are actually good, which we'll get into later. But this is the point we're at now. I thought Mattel learned their lesson after all engines go, especially with the awesome 80th anniversary, and while the designs thankfully look like real steam engines again, the faces are the only main thing holding it back. I made better designs for the engines, alongside other people. And I'll get to that later. For now, let's talk about the second elephant in the room, the magnets. Instead of bringing back the old silver take-along and take-end play magnets, they brought back the shitty 2014 fat magnets nobody cared about. Why did you do that, Mattel? They honestly should have stuck with the Adventures couplings if this is all they can do to make it seem like take-end play is back. But that's not all. They made the absolute worst decision in the entire universe for the motorized range. Literally, this part broke me. I became so pissed at this part that I can't talk about it without getting upset. They replaced the beloved Trackmaster couplers with magnets. Hi, the Trackmaster motorized engines looked perfectly fine with their plastic couplers. It's what made it so iconic alongside Plurel, and now it's ruined with these stupid magnets. They also redesigned the Trackmaster track, for no reason at all. They ruined even more iconography, and it makes me want to slip my wrist with a butcher's knife. The correct words to describe half of these changes are pathetic, shameless, ridiculous, corporate, and just sad. So sad. I understand change to keep things fresh, and like I said, redesigns aren't automatically a negative. But is Thomas really the type of show that should be changed frequently every year? While some of the body designs being changed isn't too much of a negative, giving Thomas's loyal carriages gray faces, replacing the Trackmaster couplers with shit-ass magnets, along with giving the engines colored irises, and just frequently changing Thomas every year makes it lose its timelessness and dates it. I would also rant about other things, like why are the switchers buttons now? Why are they still pushing Nia in 2025, and in 26? Why does the motorized James look so long? Why is Percy still reusing the same cider rod as the other engines, and not the one accurate to the show, etc.? But that would just make this video much longer, so I'll end this section here. So let's cover how the designs can be fixed, shall we? I've said right before that change isn't automatically a bad thing. I don't really mind the redesigns for the engines. They just need series pimperms for Thomas, Percy, and Henry, and possibly the rest of the upcoming engines. Keep their redesigns, but I would remove their colored irises. For Gordon and James, same thing here. But I would change their faces into a mix between CGI while keeping their 2026 eyebrows. As for Nia, same thing, but also, and this is just my personal preference, remove all the African patterns from the side so that ethnicity doesn't take up 90% of her personality. And replace it with yellow lines around Thay tanks, coal bunker, and maybe the boiler. Maybe put NWR on her tanks, or keep it blank or something, I don't know. As for Annie and Clarabelle, I would also keep the design, but would also keep her meshed-in face. I would also replace the Trackmaster magnets back to their couplings, and make the tracks all gray, and keep the original design. I'm just spitballing ideas here, and all of them sound more interesting than what we're actually getting. And I think that's it. Sorry for such a short segment. So now let's talk about my predictions and what I want in the series. So even though many of you hate the faces on the engine so much, you don't want them to transition into the series. Well, I'm sorry to say, but I think they will transition into the series. I just think the faces should be tweaked to look less creepy and all. Now considering the designs are a mix between the realistic CGI designs and all engines go. I believe the animation for the series will be a mix between 2D and 3D, and will probably be somewhat bright and colorful. I just hope that it looks like high-quality animation and not low-budget like JJ or CGI Fireman Sam just because of the faces alone and all. As for the main characters, I believe the main characters of the series will be Thomas, Henry, Gordon, James, Percy, Emily, Rosie, Nia, and maybe one of the new characters announced. Maybe a Neil or Emsley is one of the main characters. I'm sorry, but I'm not a fan of the name Emsley. I just don't like saying it aloud. The reason I chose Henry as the main character is because Mattel says it will delight old and new fans. So maybe the fact that Henry and hopefully Edward will maybe go back to being main characters will be delightful for old fans. And not just the beloved realistic designs, mainly Henry's case, because he's been marketed very well recently. Despite being written out of the show with no build-up prior, he also got a lot of major episodes before his departure, so it would make sense to bring him back. As for Edward, since they have not made any new toy of him, it's very unlikely he'll be a main character again, and will probably be a supporting or background character once again. I don't blame them though. There's not much story to tell with Edward after his exploit episode. You can tell how much they really struggled with him in the Brenner era, and why he was written out of the show. But if asking for him to have speaking roles, and some lead or supporting roles really that much to ask for? As for Toby being the main again, I have no idea either because of the same reasons told for Edward. While he did get a few lead role episodes during his abrupt departure, only one of his episodes were actually good in my opinion, and that's Heart of Gold. Every other lead role episode treated him as a scared grandpa who worries too much about getting scrapped because of his age. Except for All Engines Go. I also do want this series to also do NIA justice once again, and not have her constantly mention her old home. If All Engines Go made her a better character overall, then the new show should too. As for everything else I hope for, it's already explained in my two-part shorts about what I want for the 2026 show to be perfect. So I think I'll end the video here. So in conclusion, the 2026 show isn't looking as bad as many believe, but also not great either. The redesigns may not be the real issue. Thankfully, they didn't reuse the All Engines Go designs for the engines, as they seem to be reverting back to the realistic style that started it all, while also trying out some new things with them. So I do rank it slightly higher than All Engines Go alone. But does being slightly higher than the previous show still mean it's good? It's like getting a 60% GPA. So technically they are doing more good than bad. But it will still be a D-, and they may not pass. The 2026 toys have so many things working against them, like the uncanny faces, the toys switching their real couplers to magnetic ones, and the unnecessarily redesigned Trackmaster track. But if this is our first look at next year's Thomas & Friends TV series, is it good enough for fans like me to keep watching? Well, I'll just have to wait to pass my judgments until we see a teaser, poster, or even a trailer to be honest. Because as much as I want to be positive about the future of Thomas, and as much as I like the realistic proportions of the engines, I am just appalled with the uncanny, freaky-looking faces. But to be honest, I don't think the new designs should be the main issue with the project. As long as the stories are actually good, then we'll consider it as a passable show. Transformers Animated proved it, with its great storytelling, awesome twists and turns, and slightly mature storytelling, especially by the third season. The designs may be jarring to hardcore G1 fans, but it didn't matter in the end, and turned out to be praised as the most creative designs of all time. Same with MLP, but is a different show about friendship, teamwork, and character growth. While All Engines Go, on the other hand, is just another generic kids show with minimal well-written moments or characters. The morals may be much better, but they are just shoved down the kid's throat. Same with the Bob the Builder reboot, except with very repetitive plots, overused music, and annoying characters. One of the positives I can say is that Mega Machines is actually pretty decent, and the best thing to come out of this reboot, with it being experimental and daring to do things that had not been done before previously. Namely, having a new builder as the film's real antagonist. I'll get into more depth about that when I eventually do my re-review of the reboot. So hopefully the next show out does both reboots, and the rest of Mattel's other reboots, and is actually a decent show in terms of writing, even with the jarring character designs. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know down below what your predictions are for the series, and your thoughts on the new merch, and I'll see you all in the new year. Merry Christmas, everyone.